Good evening and Merry Christmas. Thanks so much for joining us for this CBS 42 Storm Track Weather Special. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mark Prater here with Nate Harrington, along with Michael Smith and Ashley Gann.
Tonight we look back to 1 year ago tonight when a tornado touched down right here in the city of Birmingham. Take a look at some of the breaking coverage from that evening.
Judging by where you are, this will be past you, and we're looking right now. This would be where our possible tornado is. Being at night is so tough to tell, but normally we'll see flashes of the transformers blowing, and that's what Stefan was hearing, along with the cloud-to-ground lightning. But,
we're hearing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very active situation. I mean, we're talking now debris in the air, so we have a confirmed tornado, and Stefan just hanging there with us. And as you could tell, a little off guard on that storm because we were expecting thunderstorms, but that one in particular got severe. I show up in blue jeans, but either way, it was one of those nights that the last time of the year you want to have a tornado.
Exactly right. We weren't expecting it, but this time of year you can see those spin-up tornadoes, and the track wasn't all that long at all. It was about a mile or so of a track, but it was pretty wide. It covered a couple of city blocks, and if we could show the graphics, we can show you the exact area that hit. The midfield tornado, very small in path, but kind of a wide expanse. But this was a picture-perfect looking hook echo on radar, and you can see the couplet there on the right-hand side. That's the velocity data. Unbelievable stuff from a thunderstorm that started in Tuscaloosa County and then reformed in Jefferson County.
And the radar was our only eyes on that storm because of the fact that, one, we did have a lot of rain falling, but also it was at night, and that's one of the most dangerous parts of having tornadoes this time of year. So instead of celebrating that Christmas day, like many residents along with Jefferson Avenue were left out in the rain, searching their damaged homes for loved ones. Stefan Dingle was live that evening and brought us one woman's desperate moments.
Hey guys, I'm here with Loretta Scott. She lives in one of these homes that was damaged. Loretta, I know you're feeling a little bit tough right now. Can you just describe to us what it was like when the tornado came through?
It was like something just pouring down, heavy rain, just boom, 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 heavy rain. And then all of a sudden, the glass in my windows just broke out. And then it felt like somebody was clawing the tin off of the house, the roof. Wow. And we looked up, and that's when I was taking my son to our area in the hallway. But if I had stayed in there any longer, the glass is tore out all across the front of the house. Wow. And on the back part, it's a brick wall, the back part is down. Gotcha. It was horrible.
And when you first came, obviously when you came right outside of your house, what was the first thing you saw?
The first thing I saw was the people across next door. The whole front of their house was down, and I saw where my house had all of this metal, and my car was, the back window was broken out, and it was just, and then I stepped on some glass in the house, so we just didn't go back in, so all the glass is out.
Gotcha. But you're okay?
We're better.
Okay, and I know earlier you were telling us that someone else was in the ambulance.
Yes, the lady in the ambulance is my neighbor, Miss Tracy's mother, and she was pent under the whole front part of the porch. Wow. And they were trying to pull her out, and finally, I guess the fire department came and we were able to get her out safely. Wow. And we went over. She was calling for Ron and I to come help her, so we went over. But it was just terrifying. When they said move, when they said it's a tornado, when they say anything's happening like that, please find safety. I plead with them. This is the second tornado Ron and I have been in 2011. And this one, where the truck came all the way and tore up our house again. So please, when they said tornado, please, people. Gotcha. Get your weather for please. Gotcha. And it was horrible. It was like white rain, just white. The rain was just so white you couldn't even see it. But
thank you so much,
but
Loretta.
We thank God for it.
Just raw emotion, but the message is pretty clear. When the weather alerts come out, she had them. That's why her life was most likely saved. And
we're not always going to have a tornado on the ground when we do have a tornado warning, but we want everybody in place because one at night is very difficult. But you know, some of the deadliest tornadoes we've seen in Alabama, including the December 2000 tornado, was during the month of December, and we lost a number of our neighbors then. So it can happen this time of the year, and that's why we try to give you the advance warning as much as possible. So we've got an interesting story, though, coming from Stefan.
Yeah, the cleanup effort's still ongoing. It's been a year, but still, folks there are still cleaning up after that tornado.
In December 2015, Mother Nature wreaked havoc on Christmas Day. A year later, the staunch reminder that a tornado ripped through this community and there is still a need.
The good story would be we helped everybody that had a need in this area, but it's still a work in progress. We're here for the long run, the long haul, which is what we said all along, but there's still more work to be done.
It's been pretty rough. Back and forth with the city, trying to get things done.
For married couple Daniel and Trudy Hunter, the past year has been difficult to say the least. Their home now boarded up and still scarred from the tornado, but they have yet to been able to get any assistance.
You know, I know God will work this out, but it seems it's the forgotten. They've forgotten about us. That's how we feel.
This particular disaster did not qualify for federal funding, so the city of Birmingham shifted around some money to at least help in the short term. But 12 months later, the need is greater than ever.
We still run into those few that not fitting in that category, not fitting in this category. What do we do for those? So the need is, I still have some families that are in need, but how do I help them?
And now all eyes are on the city and Mayor Bell to see how these people can be helped long after Mother Nature's unexpected Christmas gift.
I would like to see, the city step up and say to do what they say they're going to do. They say they're going to help the people in this community, but if you go around these streets, the people's houses are still the same way they were a year ago.
And that's a tough story to see, especially with our neighbors there who are still battling the damage. And where is the city right now and Mayor Bell as far as getting the funding?
Well, Mark and Nate, it's actually been such a long process. This all came about because the tornado, as much damage as it did, it wasn't enough money in damage to get federal funding. So the city kind of had to gather up some funds, and in the short term, it was great. It was excellent. And that's there's a church in that neighborhood called Hopewell Baptist Church, and they created a nonprofit where it's called Project Hopewell, and they help those people in that community because that community knows the people. And so that money is now run out. You know, people have been qualifying for certain grants and whatnot, but there are a number of people who have damage who didn't have insurance who don't qualify for that. So, now these people are stuck in a rut, just as those folks you saw in that video there who lived in that very neighborhood right next to where two of those houses were destroyed.
And you said Loretta, the person that you talked to on the scene that night, lived right next door to these folks, and
Yep.
What's the progress on her?
Well, Loretta, as you know, she had a very emotional interview. She was actually one of the first people I saw when I got to the scene from that scary night, and her doctors ordered her to move out of her apartment after the tornado because of health concerns. She had just had surgery, so they forced her to move out. There's actually a new younger couple living in there now, but the people next door, that house has been there since the 1930s, they told me.
Wow.
So they have a hard time of letting it go.
Sure.
And the guy who lives in there is a vet, and he just can't seem to find any help. So they're one of those people among many in that neighborhood, at least 100 families who still need help on their homes. Now,
Tornadoes have hit Smithfield Estates in the 70s. We've had Pratt City. We've had so many communities around Midfield and Fairfield that have been hit before. Something like this, when we see just a small area, is there any opportunity for people out there who are watching right now to maybe contribute or help?
They can go to Project Hopewell, which has been a great resource for that community. You can go in there. They have classes that they give these folks in the community once a month to tell them anything that's out there, whether it's good or bad. They're very truthful with the residents there, and that's been a good liaison for the community. One woman I spoke to yesterday, she said, after the cameras are gone, after everything's gone, they're always going to be there. So any help they can get, they're more than welcome.
And it was a surprise for us, but you that night did excellent work. Excellent work.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys and all of our reporters that kind of man the streets when that kind of stuff happens.
Very scary.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, after the break, we'll head over to Ashley and Michael. They have a look at why this time of the year can bring tornadoes and other severe storms. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Well, the city of Birmingham says that 72 structures were damaged by the 2015 Christmas Day tornadoes.
That's right. Governor Robert Bentley toured the damage the morning after. Michael Loader was there to talk to residents who were left to pick up the pieces.
Bless your heart. You know what? I believe I saw you on TV. Huh?
Governor Bentley spent Sunday afternoon meeting with residents of the Hillman community whose homes were destroyed on Christmas Day, including Loretta Scott, who we first talked to moments after the tornado struck. Sunday, Bentley and other local leaders toured the damage on Jefferson Avenue. Several people rode out the tornado inside a hallway while the storm destroyed the house around them.
3 generations of family getting ready to have Christmas dinner, and they are alive today.
You know, it is.
Many residents came up to Bentley during the tour to thank him for coming and to share their story.
I fell to my knees. The paramedic got me up out the ground. It scared me so bad I thought my son had got crushed. Got in the house, the walls still standing.
Amen.
They still standing.
Amen.
Bentley praised the immediate response from first responders and community leaders. Mayor Bell says destructive weather brings out the best in Birmingham communities.
We can't stop God's work, but we can come back and clean up afterwards.
That's right.
To let them know that we do care, and we will assist them in whatever way we can.
When asked if residents learned from past storms, Bentley believes there was a higher power at work that night in Birmingham.
No, I just think God just took care of some people in these houses.
Bentley said the state is gathering damage estimates from across the state and working on getting aid to those communities impacted. In Birmingham, Michael Loader, WIAT42 News, coverage you can count on.
And you know, Christmas isn't exactly a day that we typically think of tornadoes.
Right, but we've got, several tornado seasons here in Alabama. I'm going to talk about the setup for last year, but you're going to explain the tornado seasons we see in Alabama.
And especially in that fall and winter time frame. Here's a look at the maps right now. This is why we have what we call a secondary severe weather season that falls outside of spring. It's that end of fall, beginning of winter, and the reason why is we still have some warm air influences to our south, but that cold air, the polar plunge if you will, starts to move across the midsection of the nation, and these two colliding air masses generally will produce some thunderstorm activities which could lead to rotating storms and ultimately tornadoes. Look at the maps here very quickly. These are tornadoes by month. We have the obvious spring severe weather season, March, April, May, but then we have a lull in the summer and then it goes back up. You'll notice November, we can have close to 250 tornadoes in the month of November alone. So that's why even the secondary severe weather season, kind of starting late October through November into early December, we should all be very mindful of the weather patterns that are going on, because again, spring is not the only time that we could see some strong storms. Again, like December 25th of last year, here's the setup, and to talk a bit more about that, Storm Track meteorologist Michael Smith.
Thank you, Ashley. Yeah, so let's go back in time. A year ago, here was the setup. Warm, moist, unstable air right out of the Gulf of Mexico. Developing cold front, the air behind it extremely cold, so the contrasting of the two air masses very different, and then the jet stream, upper level wind, so pretty much all of the ingredients in place for this tornado outbreak. Now, the Storm Prediction Center outlined parts of Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama for an enhanced risk of seeing these tornadoes that did outbreak on Christmas Day. Ashley?
Thanks, Michael. Well, after the break, we've got more stories from the people in the Hillman neighborhood as they work to clean up the damage and move on with their lives.
We got a truck that's down. You see the damage on the window here. This is the inside of these people's houses, guys. It's really serious out here. As you can see, there are cars out here. You see their refrigerator. Absolutely a mess out here. Praying for all those affected by this here on Jefferson Avenue here in Birmingham.
When devastating events such as the Christmas tornado, members of a community band together to help those affected.
Yeah, Tim Reed shows us the mission to help others.
Residents are cleaning up debris left by a tornado. 25 homes on Jefferson Avenue were destroyed and 140 others were damaged.
The house was lifted with the mom in it, and it broke her ribs, it broke her arm.
Crystal Alexander and her 7 children are homeless. Alexander was living at this home with her mother and sister. The house was destroyed and her mother is being treated at a local hospital. Alexander and her kids were not at home when the tornado hit. Saturday afternoon, she and her kids were fed lunch at Hopewell Baptist Church.
And to be able to come here and get food and to get the genuine hearted, the agape love, the God love from the people, is like amazing to me.
The disaster relief effort is called Project Hopewell. Dozens of tornado victims have been coming to the church to get clothing, food, water, and blankets. Officials have raised $50,000 to help storm victims.
But what you see behind me today is just love. It's love for people that are in need right now. And you've got non-perishable items, you've got clothing, you've got blankets, you've got bread, you've got water.
It's a safe haven. That's what I feel like. I feel safe being here.
And as we've learned from the tornadoes of April 27, 2011, it could take years to clean up all the damage left behind.
That's right. Alex Finney checked in with residents in mid-January as they began the cleanup process.
It was awful. It really was. It was awful for a lot of people. It really was.
Edith Ransom's home was one of several that were destroyed Christmas Day.
I could have lost my whole entire family, but we all survived, and I thank God for that. I really do.
Her family was able to pick up the pieces and rebuild. 3 weeks removed from the storm, Mrs. Ransom has a new roof, and her interior, which was unrecognizable at first, is now repaired.
I was just fortunate to have insurance, but a lot of people don't.
On Friday, Governor Robert Bentley announced that Alabama was able to secure public assistance amounting in $30 million. It will go towards the tornado and flood-stricken areas. However, the governor said the state did not have enough damage to get individual assistance.
We said, let's get some assistance, and we did that through the Small Business Association, the Small Business Agency. And people are able to get low-interest loans now, and individual assistance will be in that manner.
Meanwhile, a community has come together to help pick up the pieces of their broken neighborhood.
We're going to do all we can. We're going to do the best we can.
Mrs. Ransom, whose husband is confined to a bed, says the only room in the house that wasn't touched was the room he was in. She says she grabbed her grandkids and prayed.
My grandkids was there. And one of them kept saying, Grandmama, we're going to die. I said, no, we're not. We're not going to die. We're not. We're going to pray this thing away from us.
Well, Mark and Nate are going to be back after the break with final thoughts on the 2015 Christmas Day tornadoes.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Jamie, just under 100 people are going to be displaced tonight after that tornado ripped through these homes here on Jefferson Avenue Southwest. Now, when residents described the tornado, they described it as a constant knocking on their roof that lasted for about 5 minutes. After that is when residents say glass began to shatter in the bedrooms and their cars. For a few homes along the road, their cars and homes were completely destroyed. Local leaders came out to assess the damage, including Mayor Bell, who spoke with the media.
And there's no one else left in the houses that require any medical attention. We had one individual earlier that required us to transport them to the hospital, but it was not a life-threatening situation. Obviously, we have power outages in this area. But citywide, we do have flooding issues. We've been out in the 5 Mile Creek area that many roads are impassable because of the high water in those areas, as well as the Pratt City area. There's flooding along Village Creek, and we ask people to try to stay off the road if possible.
Flooding and tornadoes at night, not a whole lot of people will forget it. And no matter what happens weather-wise, it's important to always be prepared. If you haven't already downloaded our Storm Track weather app, do it. The app gives you up-to-the-minute information, radar, warnings for your area 24 hours a day. If you can get it for free, do it. Apple, Android devices, just search CBS Weather.
And I want to certainly emphasize that it is still a busy time of the year for us. Severe weather is always possible in any month now in Alabama, but whenever we do issue severe thunderstorm warnings, there's the potential of a tornado possibly developing. So when we do that, it's certainly to make sure you and your family are safe. We want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful remaining rest of your Christmas. Thanks so much for joining us, and God bless.